Good day and thank you for tuning in to Tuckahoe's Government Access Cable Channel 36 serving Tuckahoe and Eastchester. Coming up next we have covered Tuckahoe Urban Renewal Agency meeting. That's coming up next, and it'll be followed by highlights of the Tuckahoe Library Summer Reading Program, which starts the end of June. That'll be coming up next with a visit at the Cotto School. The June 20th, 1990 Tuckahoe Urban Renewal Agency meeting.
Good evening. This is the regular monthly meeting of the Tuckahoe Urban Renewal Agency. The record should indicate that all the commissioners are, as is our executive director, Mr. Cacciola. I'd like to welcome the new building inspector, Mr. Richard Carroll, who's here this evening. Welcome, Mr. Carroll. And on behalf of the developer, Mr. Lawrence Horowitz is here. Mike, would you like to start off with your report as usual?
Yeah, I ain't got too happy of a report to make. As in the past, you know, I made a report on the observation that I conducted, work in progress. And I haven't visited that job for quite a while. On the 14th of this month, I went there to make an observation. I went into the office to announce that I was there by saying good morning to all. There were 3 people there in the office. Mr. Filardi, superintendent of construction there, which is, I know him only by Allen, and John, the shop steward for the labor union. As I seen that I was given a cold shoulder, Mr. Filardi, who asked me a couple of weeks ago to see if I could have the chief give them some see on people who were parking up that way, so I did see the chief, and Mr. Filardi responded to that by saying, Mr. Pinto, thank you for the helping hand you gave us, and I think you were telling us the truth, that people are being bothered up there. And that, as a matter of fact, I parked in the wrong place. I was given a summons and I paid the $10 fine. And I told him, well, that's going to happen no matter what you say, because the people there are now being harassed more or less because they asked for a little leniency for themselves and they're denied. I left that office. I went down to the project. I went up the gangplank to the 2nd floor. Nobody working there. I walked from the rear to the front, and I overlooked Columbus Avenue. I walked off of that floor, went down the gangplank, went down to the 1st floor, and Alan come over there and told me I had no rights over there, and to get the hell off the property. And I told him I have more rights there than he has. He says, well, you don't get out of here, I'll push you the hell out of here.
Who's this, Mike?
The superintendent over there. I think Mr. Horowitz knows I told him this once before. You know, I'm not that easy to get along, even at my age. I'm not have a fist fight. And I told him, you just put your hand on me and I'll beat the Jesus out of you. Only absolute slang word man talk. And I was leaving there, I seen Al Leon. Al Leon was telling me about the 3 sections of the union, and nothing that he was telling me related to the job here at all. And he attacked me again with his nastiness and his words threw me out of the office. I said, you ordered me out of the office? Why you ordered me out of the office? He said, because I don't want you to talk to nobody. I went to a war to make sure that everybody got a freedom of speech. So I left. So I'm sorry I didn't make too much of an observation other than to say that I'm glad that the new building inspector, after I came down to see him about what Mr. Conti is always hounding about, the barrier there was no barrier there on the 14th. So I went down and I seen the building inspector, and he went up there, and I told him, you can't just talk to the guy, just hand him a violation. So he went back up there and he made them put the barrier up. In the meantime, there's big ruts there in the road. I think they should have been either filled up or put a temporary patch the way the law calls for. Mr. Cacciola went up there, and I think he asked him to do it, and it's not done yet. That Clinton Street has been open a whole month since the last time we met. They're parking there. They have to go over on that side of the road, and I don't understand why we have such poor supervision on that whole job. If he's a superintendent, I made this remark before, I'm going to say it again. That job is run on piecemeal making. It's not progressing according to the schedule. And furthermore, if you remember the last meeting, Mr. Horowitz gave us something that this same genius that they have up there, it says what was going to be completed and what's the date it was starting and everything else. Well, we're pretty near to the end. July 1st will be here, and as I forecasted before, I'm forecasting now. He's not going to be finished by that time, and if we don't find them in default, they're just going to lag around, dizzy around, and we have no defense at all, because nobody listens to us. I want to remind you that every time I made a report, Mr. Horowitz got up and said, well, no, it wasn't that way at all. When I said there were 4 lead carpenters on our job putting all the roof together, he denied that. He said he had 9 men. Nobody on this board realized that these people just come over here to try to make a shamble out of this board. And I'm starting to resent it, because when Mr. Litzen proposed the urban renewal legislation in this state, I don't think you'll find anywhere in that legislation that anybody that's on the contractor side, the sponsor side, has a right to tell any member of this board that he's not wanted there, or he hasn't got any rights there. And I want Mr. Horowitz to know my feelings, because I'm not that easy. I'm not that kind of a guy that I can call myself a lily. I'm not wilting, and I'll be there again. If he interferes with me again, he just better watch himself physically, because he can take a poke out of me. I won't run to the police department, but I think he will. So I want Mr. Horowitz, now that he heard this story, to tell him that any member of this board have a right to go there to observe what's going on, period. We have no apologies to make to Alan at any time. So, Mr. Horowitz, that's your story. I'll be here on July the 1st, and I'm going to make a motion to find you in whatever has to be done.
Default.
Now, I'm not the only one that was given nasty answers, but Commissioner Carapella was also. We're grown men. My age is a lot older than him. I could be his grandfather, practically. And I don't take that.
What's going on the job site with the attitudes towards the members? You know, I think, Mr. Horowitz, this board has been very accommodating to the developer ever since the beginning of this project, has given him a number of extensions. Commissioner Pinto is the official liaison and was so designated by the board to the job site. And certainly we wouldn't consider it proper for him to be treated rudely when he arrives at the site.
I agree with you completely. This is the first I'm hearing this. I don't know what the circumstances were, but developer certainly agrees that all members of this board can fulfill their lawful functions in observing what's going on there with the complete cooperation of the developer. I don't know the circumstances of what took place. I'll look into it, find
I
out.
hope you would, and even address it through Mr. Bernstein or directly yourself. Why don't you bring us up to date on what's happened during the last month since our last meeting and what still has to be done, if you could.
Since our last meeting, I think the project has been moving along, not as quickly as we had hoped it would. The exterior is now closed in except for the end wall on the south end, which is awaiting some equipment to get them up high there to close that piece in there. The siding is scheduled to come in on Monday, and that operation will go continuously as far as the exterior goes. On the interior...
How long should that take?
I would think that that's about a 2-week operation once they get moving. The first few days is a membrane that goes on underneath it, but that starts at one end and moves continuously there. I was told today that the materials are all available and on order, and that the deliveries will start on Monday with a crew there to start installation. On the interior, sheetrock has been loaded in several units. In the first 4 units, first 4 apartments, starting at the north end, they have been sheetrocking in there, and that operation will continuously move, again, north to south.
How long should that take?
I think that sheetrocking operation should take about 2 weeks, and I believe the taping is probably about another 2 weeks beyond that. I have the major lead stuff that I'm aware of is I have seen there's some structural steel work on an extension of the platform, plus the north and south stairs to go in. The steel worker was on the job this week. I saw several components already delivered. Certainly as far as the interior finishes go, I know we have seen the samples and approved, and we understand that they've ordered the tiles, and that the cabinet work is being fabricated.
It appears that during the last month there's been somewhat of a lag all of a sudden. We had a snag here?
No, I think I was
we thought we were going to come in somewhat near the completion date, and now we're talking about things that are going to start next week that are going to take a month. Where's the estimated completion date now?
I think that by the end of next month, by the end of July, that job should be substantially complete.
Have they started work, or I don't believe, on the south wall down here yet with the new stairway, etc.?
No, that's what I was just referring to. The steel worker is on the job now.
Yep.
And the masons, as you can see, are also on the job. The sequence of where they are laying their brick is determined by other trades that are dependent on them. So the brickwork coming on this end is one of the last things they'll put in.
Any questions from other board members?
Yeah, I like to remark, as far as the roofing is concerned, it appears to me there's still a lot of areas in which the roof has to be covered. It's not 100% watertight. And I observed that just this past week. I toured the site, and I just noticed that a lot of the roofs are uncovered. And from what I gather, I don't think they can put the gypsum board up unless it's watertight. And it appears to me that quite a few units are not completely enclosed with proper roof siding.
Again, the sequence is from north to south, and The sheetrock is going in on the north end where all the roofing work is complete, and I think the areas you're referring to on the roof are towards the south end.
No, I'm talking about the units on the north end, in front of the building, facing Columbus Avenue. I noticed that the workers were there. In fact, some of the bay windows have to be covered. And I noticed that the brick went to a certain point on the front fascia, and they couldn't continue because there's not a covering. The covering is missing over the windows, the bay windows in the front. You will know, well,
I'll
if you tour the
take a
site,
look
you will
at
know.
that.
Yeah, look
Yep.
at that. And I also observed they only have 5 bricklayers there. Now, it took almost 2 weeks just to do the fascia walls in between the 2 units, between the 2 buildings. Now, if they're going to go at that rate there, it's going to be another month and a half before they complete the brickwork, unless they put more bricklayers on. I think there were 5 working.
I don't know the number,
There
how
were
many were
5, there
there.
were 5, I noticed it. So at the rate they're going now, it's going to be another month before the brickwork is completed, according to what they've completed at the present time. So I would appreciate if you look into it and see if you can put more bricklayers on to expedite it.
Certainly will. I thought I saw more than 5 today, but I did not count. But I think there should be a larger force than that there, and we'll convey that to the contractor.
And from what I gather, according to this bar graph, I don't think this bar graph makes sense as far as time is concerned. I doubt very much, and I'm going to be sincere about this, that you will not see the completion by July, the end of July. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to ask him about this letter that I got from the building department. Because if my memory serves me right, the only plans that went down to the Department of Housing in New York City were the original plans by the first architect of record. And when they came back, they had a lot of red marks on it. They were not approved. And subsequently, a very short time after that, we got a letter from the architect saying that he was no longer the architect of record. He has nothing to do with it, and his plans are not to be used. And Richie Latucci took over. Now, I failed to see any plan that has any signs or signatures or what they have to do down in the Department of Housing on any of the plans that were in the office. I understand sometimes you like to do things without coming here and asking us or letting us know what the moves are, such as the wall has been changed. You constructed the lower wall even before you filed the plans for approval.
Which wall are we talking about now, Mike?
The
The
wall that's
retaining
up
wall?
there in Clinton Place. And if you remember, we sent Mr. Cacciolo up there because he had no plans, even in the building department at the time. And you rushed a pair of plans that Mr. Cacciolo brought in and to the department. Our bottom wall was 95% completed. I don't know, from that plan came another section of wall further up on the thing. The way I look at it, at one point there, that slope is pretty damn steep. It's more of a gorge than a slope. If you go up there now, since they put the curbing in, and the sidewalk paving in, you could still see now there's a separation between the curb and the wall. Maybe it's due because there was never a temporary patch put along that curbing to prevent the water from seeping and starting to erode there. For which I wish to remind you that one meeting I reported that bank was in danger, was going to have a slide. And God behold, the next morning it slid down. And a good thing some of the men heard the report on the television, and they gave each one a warning themselves. Mr. Cacciolo went up the next morning, and he judged the cave-in. Why is it that, you know, there's a pretty big rut along that curve, and there's an extension into the center of the road. Why isn't it that you or whoever you got in charge there, instead of him being nasty to anybody on this board, to do his work so Mr. Cacciola don't have to go up there 5 or 6 times to tell him to do it or ask him to do it? How is it that right now it hasn't been done yet? Why is it? I mean, this is the village of Tuckahoe. Don't take the village of Tuckahoe as a sham place that you can get away with a lot of stuff. You know, we're responsible at our job. We can be sued as a third party as we have been already. I'm giving you a direct response to what you're supposed to be doing because that's what your man said to him, and he told me that he only follows your instruction, and I guess you must have told him to try to get rid of me because I'm a pain in the ass, as he put it, all right?
No.
Did you ever tell him to tell any of the members here to not to go up on that job?
Absolutely not, and I really resent the accusation.
Huh?
Absolutely not.
Well, you better tell him again for the second time.
But I'm
And
telling
when he
you that I
sees
never
up
said
there-
any such thing,
If
Commissioner.
he sees me up there, he better not try to tell me I have no business up there.
Commissioner, don't accuse me of having done that. I have never said
Well,
any
that's what
such
he
thing,
said.
and that is not
He
correct.
said, he even told Mr. Carapella that if he have any problem, to see you about it. He follows your orders.
Mike, he just
Well,
says,
I did
no,
that,
yeah,
I
it says
think.
that, he says, if you have any problems, consult the office. Now, which office it was pertaining to, I don't know, whether it was...
I
Intel
don't know. I was
Construction-
not there. I did not hear
No.
what he said.
Well, that's all he told me, and I mean, I want to get, it wasn't directly aimed at you, he's just, if you have any questions, speak to someone at the main office. So I don't know which main office it's pertaining to.
I don't know what he's talking about.
No, I think
Just want
that,
to clarify that,
you know,
yeah.
the issue that...
Now, to continue,
let me
was there
just-
any
let me-
reason why these plans were never
Mike, let me
brought
just
down
finish
to New
this.
York?
Oh, just a second, okay? Just please make sure tomorrow that you take care of, so that there's no question left, but that they allow members of the agency
Absolutely, of
access to
course.
the building site during work.
And this project has been going on for a very long time, and this is the first we have ever heard of any problem like that. So this is certainly not a
Come
policy
on,
of
now,
the
you know
developer.
that I said that right here in an open meeting, that he harassed me up there before.
Okay, I think...
What do you got, a short memory, or you just do it for convenience?
All right. Why don't you go on to your next subject, Mike, with the letter there?
Mr. Chairman, before you get off the Clinton,
Okay.
I met with Mr. Howitz about 3 weeks ago and asked that they repave the full street rather than just patch along the curb. And he told me then that he was going to check with the owners and get back to me, but he has never gotten back to me on that, and I wanted to find out
Do you
what
have an
was
answer
happening.
on that request yet?
No, I don't have a response to that. I have passed that request on to the owner, and they have not given us instruction on whether to repair it or to resurface it. I haven't gotten that answer
Yeah.
yet.
Well, we-
Tony?
We talked about it the day that I was up there, and I explained to Mr. Howitz, and I think he agreed somewhat, that for him to cut that road up and patch it, he probably could save a lot of time and money, and if he just went in there and put an underlay, then overlaid the whole road, and the difference in price might be very slight, maybe $1,000. And I can't understand why he hasn't done that yet. So if he's not going to overlay the whole road, then he should come right out and tell us that he's not going to do it, and then we'll force him to do what he has to do there. And it's very easy to do that. Now, you know, we've tried to get along for so many months up there. We had a problem, and we've always tried to work together. But the problem now is that it's not time to drag your feet because there's a problem there. And either they're going to resolve it or they're not. And if they're not going to resolve it, then they're going to have to do it our way.
Would you tell Mr. Bernstein if you'd like an answer by the end of the week what his intentions are respect
Certainly.
to the paving? Thank you. Okay, Mike, you have your next subject? I know you had some other matters.
No, I asked that
We
last
finished?
question. I didn't get no
Okay.
response.
What
Do you
was-
know any reason why, since you became the architect of record, and none of your plans went down for review with the Department of Housing?
We followed your town's procedures. We submitted the plans to your building inspector. Your building inspector examined them and brought in a visiting inspector from White Plains to assist, and on the basis of that, a permit was issued. It was his prerogative if he wanted to ask that they be submitted to the state for further interpretation. He did not do that. Permit was issued based on an examination by two of your inspectors.
But you knew all the while that all these plans are supposed to be brought down to the Department of Housing. for
That's not
review,
correct,
right?
Commissioner.
I mean, as an architect.
That's not correct, Commissioner.
What?
That is not correct. If that were the case, there would be no local building inspectors to examine plans. There would be a central
Now,
agency.
the local building department has a right to send them down.
Absolutely. If they choose not to, then they don't. We do not dictate to your
I know
building
where they
department
went
what to
to for
do.
review. I will reveal that when they start an investigation.
Any other questions, Mr.
Yeah, I would just like
Horowitz?
to, Tony, I'd like to ask you a question with regard to that Clinton Place Road.
Larry.
No,
Said Tony. Oh, this Tony.
yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking to Mr. Horowitz.
At the condition it's at now, with the severe rainstorms we have, that water has a possibility draining underneath the curbing and then going where the grade beam is. Will it affect that in any way? Any erosion created underground?
Anything is possible.
Because it feels to me it's all concaved in that particular area, that the water settles rather than drains down to the proper sewer. Because I looked at it, it seems to me that that's creating little voids in the road along where the curbing, the concrete curbing is, and where the unpaved portion is. I've observed that. I don't know how it is now with the
Well,
severe
that
rains.
was all dug out, so you are going to have a certain amount of settlement with the water. Now, how far down it's going, we don't know unless you get in there and you dig a test pit.
Anything else? Anything from the public? No. Trustee White and Mrs. White, I guess they compose the public tonight. Anything?
Oh, he's,
I'd just like to commend the board for taking the hard line that they are taking. My question is it Mr. Horowitz?
Yes.
Is what progress have we made on the existing problems that the tenants have brought from the Tower Club? Have they been settled? I know that there's one problem that was voiced to me yesterday with regards to installation of the equipment room. It's creating a problem, a noise problem in one of the apartments, and it seems like a minor thing that could and should be taken care of. Thank you.
Are you aware of that situation, Mr. Horowitz?
I am aware of that particular situation that came up many months ago. The owner asked us to look into what the situation was there. We investigated the type construction that was put in there and the sound rating that is attributed to that, found that was within the code requirements and reported that as such.
That might be something, obviously, that the owner could bring to the Mr. Carroll's attention. He could check that out if he hasn't already.
I might add a written report of that was submitted to the Department of Buildings.
When in the scheme of things, again, I know I've asked you this before, is the garage roof scheduled for the resurfacing with the new membrane?
We have received proposals for the waterproofing, and the contract is ready to be let, and it will not be let until the north stair is constructed, because that involves some steel and some openings that penetrate through that deck. After that steel is in place, which should be within the next week or so, that can be closed up, and then the waterproofing contract can be let, which is separate from the construction contract.
And the atrium, does that seem to have been
We're not
corrected, the
aware of any
situation
leaks there now.
Okay, thank you.
One more thing, Mr. Horowitz, did they put back that apartment for the permanent residence of the superintendent there.
It's under construction right now. It started about a week, just started a week and a half ago.
Now, I'm glad you said it's still under construction, because there again, you know, when we said that I had to put it back, when they gained the certificate of completion, that was one of the things I insisted, because they eliminated it from the plans without due process, without even letting us know, and they said they were going to do it. That was one of the things that I said. And the other thing was about putting the brick instead of that stucco at the end of the building, and some of the other items that were implicated. Now, I hope you do get that little apartment finished for the man, so he could know that he's going to be in that apartment.
Commissioner, I'd invite you to come over and take a look. I was there today myself, and I saw that it was under construction.
They're still working. I know, they're still working.
They just started a couple of weeks ago
They've
on
been
it.
working over there for 10 years already.
They just started that apartment about 2 weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago they started, but you go back in the records here, you'll see where you said that they were over there working.
I never said that.
You didn't?
No, sir.
Anything else?
Yes, I'd like to ask the building inspector, was the fire department notified before the sheetrock was installed?
Good evening. To answer your question, the sheetrock was just installed in the A line, one unit on the north end, and they were not informed by me. I went over and did inspect it because my problem with it before they put up the sheetrock was fire stopping and some bridging on the walls. Since that was corrected in that area, I saw no problem. Whether the fire department was supposed to have been there or been notified with them, I'm not sure, but I did not.
Well, who's to notify the fire department?
Well, I would assume that if they have regular inspections to make, they're informed just as I am, called and come to make inspections. I didn't know, or I do not know, that it's my job to notify each and every time they do something over there that I have to notify the fire department. I've not done that in the past.
Was there a procedure that the fire department's be notified either? No?
Okay?
Thank you. Right, our next regularly scheduled meeting would fall on July 18th. What's the pleasure of the board? Do you want to leave the meeting on that date?
I think we should hold it July the 1st,
Well-
so I can make my motion.
That's a Sunday. That'd be tough.
You know, I gave him a grace time from February to July, if you remember, with the big promise that if we gave him that little extension, we wouldn't need to worry about any other deadline.
Right, Commissioner Gallagher isn't going to be here during the first week of July. The first week of July is also very difficult for me. The town board meeting has been moved to the 2nd, and there's business I have to attend to on the 3rd. We have the holiday on the 4th. Do any other members of the board besides Commissioner Pino have any desire to move the meeting up from the 18th to an earlier date?
Who says to move it up? We move it up. No, but did it happen? Before the 18th.
It's up to you, fellas.
What day would that be, Jim?
The Wednesday before the 18th? Well, it'd be Wednesday the 11th. If we moved it up 1 week.
Just up to the rules. Whenever it's convenient for me, I'm available.
Is there a zoning board or planning board meeting on the 11th? Do you know?
I think we have
Richard?
a meeting for I have a recycling.
Offhand?
I think I have a recycling meeting on the 10th. The 10th. or the 11th? One of those. Do you know? Planning board, well,
Not sure.
I think it would be a Monday or Thursday.
Hurry up and do some work.
I'd rather have all the members here than we do, so I think the best thing we do is the 18th and we'll all be here too. I want all the members to be here.
We're having scheduling conflicts prior to the third week. That's what Commissioner Carapella is saying.
I don't want to come here on the 11th and then somebody going to tell me, well, we should have been here on the 1st.
Well, who's going to say that?
I don't know. I just want to make sure that I got insurance of that.
Well, we're not going to say it.
We talk about holidays, it looks like they're having a big holiday up there on our project.
No. If they were to be declared in default, it could be done on the 1st or the 18th, if we chose to do that. It's just that their period to cure would run from the 18th if we declared them in default as opposed to the 1st. I would suggest we leave it on the 18th. Perhaps the developer will get a... maybe there'll be a spurt of activity between then.
Massive crew coming.
Massive crew coming in. Excuse me?
Entire week, the 9th, the only meeting is the Housing Review Board.
All right. Thank you, Trustee White. All right. Why don't we sort of meet one another halfway and schedule a special meeting for Wednesday, July the 11th, 1 week early. Is that all right, Mike?
It's all right by me, as long as I'm not told by anybody that, I should have acted on the 1st
No,
because it was illegal.
No. There's no legal implication to not acting on the 1st.
If we don't do this here, I tell you, they'll be there 1 year from now.
I hope not. I'll move that we have our regularly scheduled meeting, which would be held on July 18th, be moved to July 11th, 1990, in this room at 8 o'clock. Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's
I
unanimous.
think we have to, if we do that, we're going to have to publish a notice.
Well, I think if we notify the press, I don't think we have to publish legal notice. If we notify the press and put a notice on the bulletin board, that should be sufficient.
It goes on the air here.
And we'll ask that the cable scroll be changed to reflect our July meeting is going to be on July 11th. Tony, do you have anything for us?
I think you have a voucher in front of you.
Yeah, I'll move that the recording secretary's voucher in the amount of $125 for her services in connection with our May 16th meeting be approved. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Also, that right now we have a balance in the checking account of $637.81. We have the note at the bank, which is, will become due on 8/31. That'll be after our next meeting.
Okay.
That note is in the amount of $22,378.59. And we also have a note for $145,838.68 plus interest. That will become due on 7/23.
So we can discuss that at our next meeting.
Yeah, that'll be at our next meeting also. You can think about that, what you want to do with that note.
Okay.
So for the next meeting, you'll probably get a copy of this again. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
You have the voucher? Last time you took it home.
I know, I took it home. It didn't do me any good, but I took it home.
I know.
We received the minutes from the May 16th, 1990 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review them?
I did. I didn't find anything that...
Excuse me? Oh, what, Mr. Horowitz? Oh, he knows he can go if he wants. I think it's just that this is very interesting stuff we're doing here.
Okay.
No, I think what I'm going to do on a number of the minutes of previous meetings, which were deferred and then haven't been acted on, I'll make a list of them all and we'll take care of them in the near future. But since we've had these for a few days, are there any suggested changes as to the May 16th meeting minutes?
I shall move that the minutes be accepted.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Any other business? Motion to adjourn? Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Joey.